She's mesmerizing, magnetic. Her eyes draw you in, and her stories make you feel wanted. You start to wonder if this could be the one. Then, gradually, something changes. You find yourself walking on eggshells, explaining yourself repeatedly. Your successes feel like threats, and your calm turns into suspicion. Love begins to feel more like survival. You're not losing your mind, and you're not alone. Many men, especially in their 40s and 50s, wake up one day to realize they're stuck in a relationship that drains their energy, undermines their confidence, and reshapes their sense of masculinity. They believed they were choosing love, but in reality, they stepped into emotional warfare. The hard truth is, no one teaches men how to spot it. Society tells us to provide, to protect, to persevere, but no one explains how to identify a woman who doesn't seek love, only control. No one warns you about when affection is used as a weapon, when your empathy is manipulated, or when chaos is disguised as passion. That stops today. Once you recognize these patterns, you can never unsee them. Naming the behavior strips it of its power. This isn't about blaming women, it's about safeguarding yourself. Some relationships are built to quietly break you, and you must leave before that happens. Let's uncover the traits people avoid discussing. Let's reveal the wounds hidden behind makeup, the trauma masked by perfume. Let's examine the type of woman no one should commit to, no matter her beauty. By the end, you won't just see the risk, you'll know how to steer clear. Number 1, she'll seduce you with chaos, not care. She seduces you with chaos, not care. This is the kind of woman no one warns you about. She doesn't approach you with red flags blazing. She comes with excitement, fire, and a presence that pulls you in like gravity. She doesn't ask for your heart. She makes you offer it up. Not through warmth, but through volatility, unpredictability, and emotional chaos disguised as passion. At first, it feels like intensity, like electricity. You think, damn, this is different. And you're right, it is, but not in the way you hope. This is what happened to Greg, 56, a financial advisor from Chicago. Divorced for 6 years, emotionally mature, financially stable, and ready for something real. Then he met Savannah, 49, a graphic designer with a magnetic smile and a wild energy that made him feel alive again. The first few weeks were incredible. She was spontaneous, flirtatious, full of stories and excitement. He felt seen, desired, and needed. But that spark started to burn a little too hot. She'd disappear for a day with no explanation, then blow up his phone the next, accusing him of not caring. One night, she'd be tender and vulnerable. The next, cold and sarcastic. Greg was walking on emotional landmines and mistaking it for depth. That's what many men miss. This kind of woman doesn't want connection. She wants control, and she gets it not by offering stability, but by keeping you unsteady. She'll use silence like a weapon and intimacy like currency. She'll pull you close, then pull away just enough to make you chase her again. Why? Because chaos keeps you focused on her. When you're busy trying to solve her, calm her, or decode her, you're not thinking about what you need. You're too distracted to notice the emotional toll. And make no mistake, it's deliberate. She's not looking for a partner. She's looking for emotional oxygen. Someone who will breathe life into her chaos by sacrificing their own peace. This is the dark psychology of seduction through dysfunction. It's not always conscious, but it is practiced, and it works especially on good men like Greg. Greg thought that if he could just understand her, he could fix things. He didn't realize that the chaos was the point. To her, drama was connection, conflict was intimacy, and unpredictability was power. The Stoics warned us about this kind of entanglement. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When you're with a woman like this, your imagination does the heavy lifting. You imagine her potential. You imagine her healing. You imagine the future that never comes because the present is always on fire. Here's the real danger. The longer you stay, the more you normalize it. You stop trusting your gut. You start minimizing the impact. You tell yourself you're just being dramatic, sensitive, or not patient enough. But deep down, your peace is screaming. Listen to it. If every interaction feels like a test, if you're always guessing where you stand, if love feels like walking through smoke with no exit, you're not in love. You're in survival mode. And survival is not connection, it's captivity. I'm not saying all intense women are toxic, but there's a difference between emotional depth and emotional chaos. One invites you in, the other consumes you. Greg eventually walked away, not with anger, not with blame, but with clarity. He finally realized that care is calm. Real love isn't dizzying, it's grounding. If you've ever found yourself chasing a woman who runs on emotional fire but gives no warmth, you're not alone, and you're not weak. You're just wired for connection. But now you need to be wired for discernment. Let that truth land, and if you're ready to say it out loud, drop it in the comments. Number 2, her childhood wounds want your blood. Her childhood wounds want your blood. You're not dating a woman, you're dating everything she's never healed. If you're not careful, you'll spend months or years trying to love wounds that don't belong to you. There's a quiet danger most men overlook. The woman who looks whole on the outside but carries brokenness on the inside. That brokenness doesn't sit quietly. It plays out loudly in your relationship. Take Mark, 52, an architect from Denver. Steady guy, solid values, big heart. He met Rachel, 47, through a friend at a gallery opening. She was sharp, beautiful, and had a sense of vulnerability that made Mark feel needed. At first, it felt like real connection. Deep talks, soft touches, that unspoken sense that she saw something in him most people missed. He thought he was lucky, but he didn't realize she wasn't seeing him. She was seeing a rescue mission. Here's what happened. Anytime he was late to reply, even by a few minutes, she'd say, "I guess I'm not important." When he had a busy week at work and couldn't text her constantly, she'd spiral into, "You always abandon me." The smallest disagreements turned into emotional breakdowns. One night, she cried for 2 hours straight because he said he needed space to think. It wasn't about him. It was about the father who never came home, the boyfriend in her 20s who cheated, the mother who told her she was never enough. And now, Mark was holding the bill for all of it. That's the trap. When you don't recognize that a woman is bleeding emotionally, you start confusing her pain for your responsibility. You start thinking, if I just love her enough, it'll heal. But love isn't a bandage for someone else's trauma. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The problem is, when her mind is still ruled by the past, no present moment with you will ever feel safe to her. You could be loyal, calm, and consistent, and she'll still see you as a threat. Because the wound sees through old eyes. That's why some women will punish you for the silence of another man. They will sabotage peace because they've learned to equate chaos with love. They don't want to hurt you, but their wounds do. And those wounds don't care how kind, patient, or generous you are. Mark tried everything, thoughtfulness, reassurance, even therapy together. But nothing shifted because she didn't want a partner. She wanted a protector who would bleed for her healing. And that, my friend, is how good men get drained. You end up sacrificing your own peace, your time, your energy, trying to convince her you're not the enemy. Meanwhile, she's reliving a childhood battlefield, and you're just standing in the crossfire. So what's the move? Empathy, but with distance. You can acknowledge someone's pain without carrying it. You can care deeply without becoming a casualty, because once you start bleeding for someone else's trauma, you stop being a partner and start becoming a prisoner. Understand this, a woman's trauma isn't her fault, but it is her responsibility. If she refuses to own it, face it, or work through it, then you are not in a relationship. You are in emotional debt collection. No matter how much you pay, the balance never drops. If you've been that man, trying to soothe chaos with calm, trying to earn love by enduring pain, it's time to draw a line. You deserve a relationship rooted in the present, not haunted by the past. If you know that truth deep in your bones, acknowledge it. Number 3, you'll never be enough for her trauma. You'll never be enough for her trauma. There's a dangerous illusion many good men fall into. If I love her enough, she'll finally feel safe. She'll finally heal. But here's the hard truth. You can't love someone into wholeness if their trauma is still driving the relationship. Let's talk about James, 58, a calm and reliable civil engineer from Minnesota. Widowed 5 years ago, emotionally stable, and after a long grieving process, he met Lena, 49, a nurse practitioner, divorced twice, with a magnetic personality. She was funny, spontaneous, full of energy, and deeply wounded. James saw her struggles, sure, but he thought, if I show her real love, if I never leave, if I stay steady, she'll stop running. That's not what happened. In the beginning, Lena adored his consistency. She said it was refreshing. But as months passed, she started picking fights over nothing. His calm demeanor made her feel unseen. His stability bored her. Is kindness too good to be true? She said James didn't change, but she did. Why? Because trauma doesn't want peace. It wants patterns, and if she spent her life in emotional chaos, that becomes her comfort zone. The moment you offer her love that isn't tangled in drama, her nervous system panics. She starts to distrust you, not because you're untrustworthy, but because you don't match her internal pain. This is where most men get trapped. They start working harder, more gifts, more compliments, more reassurance. And still, it's never enough because you're not dealing with her. You're dealing with the echo of every man who left her, hurt her, lied to her, and she doesn't even realize she's trying to make you pay for it. The Stoics had a name for this kind of suffering. Distress not caused by the thing itself, but by your interpretation of it. Epictetus. She's interpreting you through a lens of pain, and no amount of effort will clean that lens if she refuses to remove it. James spent 2 years in that loop. Every time Lena pulled away, he reached harder. Every time she accused him of not caring, he tried to prove he did. It drained him. Eventually, after one final argument where she told him he wasn't man enough for her passion, he broke down, not because of her words, but because he realized he was trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. And that's the gut-punching truth most men avoid. If a woman hasn't faced her trauma, she will make you her emotional therapist, her punching bag, her emotional regulator, and call it love. But real love doesn't feel like punishment. It's not your job to fill a hole you didn't dig. It's not your job to fix her childhood through your sacrifice. You don't get extra points for suffering. You get scars and a story you'll regret repeating. So how do you know when you're trapped in this cycle? Ask yourself, do I feel like I'm constantly trying to prove I'm enough? Do I keep walking on eggshells to avoid setting her off? Do I leave interactions feeling more anxious than connected? If you said yes to any of those, you're not in a relationship, you're in a trauma bond. And escaping it doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. A woman's trauma is real. It deserves compassion. But your peace is real too, and it deserves protection. If you've ever tried to prove your worth to a woman who never healed herself, this is your moment to claim your clarity. Type below, I am not your cure. Stay locked in because the next part reveals the reasons some women fear peace more than pain, and how that fear can poison even the purest love. Number 4, when peace scares her more than pain. You'd think that after a lifetime of pain, what someone would want most is peace. But some women don't know how to exist without drama because it's all they've ever known. To them, peace isn't safe. It's foreign, and foreign feels dangerous. Let's break this down with a real-world story. Mark, 53, a successful landscape architect from Colorado, met Cynthia, 48, a fitness coach and single mom. She was beautiful, driven, and emotionally intense. At first, that intensity felt passionate, even exciting. Mark thought, finally, a woman who knows what she wants. But there was a pattern. Every time things got calm, Cynthia stirred the pot. A dinner date went great. She'd suddenly accuse him of being distant. A weekend away felt intimate. She'd pick a fight over something from weeks ago. Mark couldn't understand why his emotional consistency was being punished, why the better he treated her, the more suspicious she became. Until a therapist friend of his said, she's addicted to the emotional roller coaster. Peace feels like boredom, or worse, like danger. And it hit him. He wasn't being rejected for doing something wrong. He was being rejected for being stable. Here's what most men don't realize. If a woman grew up in chaos with unpredictable parents, emotional neglect and abuse, her nervous system got wired to survive, not to feel safe. So when you show up calm, composed, and emotionally available, she doesn't know what to do with it. It feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar triggers fear. Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But what if her thoughts have always told her that calm is just the silence before another storm? That's why some women unconsciously sabotage the exact kind of man they say they want, because safety doesn't feel like home to them. Conflict does. And here's where good men get stuck. They start changing themselves to keep her close. They start creating just enough drama to keep her interested. They withhold emotions, play aloof, mirror her volatility, all in the hope of staying desirable. But now you're not being yourself anymore. Now you're managing her trauma instead of living your truth. If you've ever been in this dynamic, you know how exhausting it is. You're trying to offer peace to someone who's only ever felt alive during chaos. That's not love. That's emotional codependence. The Stoics had a name for this too. To be Stoic is not to be emotionless, but to remain unaffected by volatility. Your calm is not the problem. Her fear of calm is, and if she's not willing to sit with that fear, to work through it, to question her old patterns, then your relationship will always feel like a tug-of-war between your peace and her panic. Mark tried everything. He listened. He reassured. He stayed grounded through the storms, but nothing changed because Cynthia hadn't faced her demons. She was still letting them drive. Eventually, Mark did what many men fear doing. He walked away, not because he stopped loving her, but because he refused to betray his own emotional balance. And that's what I want you to hear. Being a good man doesn't mean being a punching bag for someone else's unresolved trauma. Your peace is not a weakness, it's a strength. And if your calm presence scares her more than her own chaos, you are not the one who needs fixing. Now I want you to pause and ask yourself, have you ever felt punished for your peace, for being steady, for not playing games? If yes, then leave your mark in the comments. Type, "I protect my peace." Because the next lesson cuts even deeper. How a woman can make your love feel like an unpaid emotional debt and how to stop trying to settle it. Number 5, she wants you addicted, not connected. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. Some women don't want connection, they want control. And the easiest way to gain control isn't with force, it's with emotional addiction. That's right. She doesn't want your love, she wants your obsession. Let me tell you about Richard, 58, a retired firefighter from Georgia. He met Eleanor, 49, at a mutual friend's dinner party. She was charming, magnetic, and always just out of reach. Every time he thought they were getting closer, she'd pull away. Then, out of nowhere, she'd send a text at 1 a.m. saying, "I miss you." Richard told himself, she's just guarded, she needs time. What she needed was his emotional dependency. She was creating emotional highs and lows on purpose. And Richard, he was hooked. Here's the pattern: love bombing, withdrawal, sweet words, then silence. A vulnerable conversation, then emotional punishment the next day. It wasn't love, it was conditioning. Just like an addict chases a high, Richard started chasing those fleeting moments of affection. And that's exactly what women like Elena want. Not connection, but craving. They want your nervous system dysregulated. They want you guessing, doubting, hoping. Because when you're addicted to her breadcrumbs, she never has to give you the full meal. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once warned, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." But addiction steals that freedom. Emotional addiction traps you in cycles you didn't choose. Here's what's dangerous. Men like Richard think this roller coaster means passion. They mistake instability for chemistry. They confuse emotional starvation with romance. But there's a difference between desire and dependency. Desire grows in clarity. Dependency festers in confusion. You'll notice something else in these relationships. You're doing all the emotional work. You're chasing, checking in, making plans, apologizing sometimes for things you didn't even do. You become like a gambler at a slot machine. You've already invested so much. Maybe the next pull will give you the jackpot, but it never does. Richard stayed in that relationship for over a year. He lost sleep. He stopped seeing friends. He lost weight. And the worst part, he thought it was all his fault, but it wasn't. He was trapped in a system designed to keep him emotionally hungry. Here's how you break free. 1. Recognize the cycle. If you feel more anxious than connected, that's a red flag. 2. Stop chasing crumbs. Love isn't something you earn by suffering. 3. Reconnect with your values. Ask yourself, is this who I want to become? The Stoics believed emotional sovereignty is rooted in your own reason and virtue, not another person's validation. He who is not a slave to his passions is free. Seneca said that applies here too. If a woman only shows affection when you're pulling away, or only respects you when you become cold, she's not nurturing love. She's managing control. Don't confuse attention with affection. Don't trade your peace for her unpredictability. And don't let her turn your longing into her leverage. Ask yourself, have you ever confused obsession for love? Have you been pulled into someone's orbit only to feel more lost than ever? If that's you, drop your voice in the comments by writing, "I choose clarity." What's coming next will reveal the one trait these women all use and why it always feels like your fault. 6. You're the villain in her story always. Let's talk about something most men never see coming. You're not her partner. You're not her ally. In her narrative, you're always the villain. It doesn't matter how kind you are, how much you provide, or how loyal you remain. If she's rooted in unresolved pain, especially the kind she refuses to look at, she will make you the stand-in for every man who ever hurt her. Let me tell you about James, a 52-year-old architect from Denver. He met Vanessa, 47, through mutual friends. Divorced, beautiful, magnetic, but always carried an edge, like she was defending herself from a war no one else could see. At first, it felt like connection. Deep talks, long nights, vulnerability. But then, the shift started. If James forgot to text good morning, she accused him of abandoning her. If he didn't agree with her perspective, she said he was just like her ex, who always gaslit her. One day, after a long client meeting, he came home late. She looked him dead in the eyes and whispered, "You never really cared about me." He was stunned. He had never raised his voice, never disrespected her. But none of that mattered, because the moment her trauma got triggered, he became the enemy. Not in reality, but in her mind. Here's what many men miss. You're not just dating her. You're dating her unhealed wounds, her absent father, her toxic ex, her betrayal at 19 that she never processed. If she hasn't taken responsibility for that pain, she'll make you bleed for it. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good." She's not necessarily malicious. She's reacting based on a distorted internal map. But here's the key. You are not responsible for fixing that map. You cannot love someone's trauma into submission. You cannot argue your way into becoming the safe one. No. When a woman is committed to her victimhood, your goodness becomes a threat. a threat to her worldview that all men are dangerous. So what does she do? She finds evidence to prove it. She twists your words. She misremembers events. She uses your calm responses as signs of emotional neglect and your silence as emotional manipulation. It's a war you can never win, and the longer you stay, the more your self-worth erodes. You begin to doubt yourself. You tiptoe around her mood. You apologize for things you didn't do just to avoid the next emotional ambush. James stayed for 2 years. He started therapy thinking he was the problem, but the therapist said something that changed everything. You're trying to win a battle that isn't yours to fight. That's when it clicked. He wasn't a villain. He was just the closest target. So how do you protect yourself? Recognize this pattern early. Listen not just to her words, but to her reactions. If she constantly rewrites the story, so she's always the victim and you're always the cause, that's not love. That's projection. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Being with a woman like this isn't adversity. It's self-destruction. You don't get to prove your worth. You get trapped trying to disprove her narrative. Ask yourself, are you in a relationship or are you playing a part in someone else's unresolved trauma? If that question hits home, drop this in the comments. I reject the villain role. Because the moment you stop fighting for a spot in her broken story, you start reclaiming your peace. Next, we'll expose the behavior that keeps you addicted to this dynamic without even realizing it. 7. She'll cross every line, then cry victim. She'll cross every line, then cry victim. Let's not sugarcoat this. Some women weaponize the very thing they claim to fear. They will cross boundaries, emotionally, verbally, even physically, then collapse into tears and scream victim the moment you react. If you're not grounded in reality, you'll question your sanity. Let's break this down with a real scenario. Mark, 55, a small business owner from Houston, divorced for 5 years, meets Elena, 49, at a leadership seminar. She's charming, intelligent, effortlessly feminine. She calls him her rock just weeks in. He feels seen, desired, needed, but the signs show early. She'd joke about his ex-wife, but cut deep. At least I don't let myself go like her. When Mark brought up how hurtful it was, she'd smile, tilt her head and say, "Wow, you're really sensitive. I was just kidding." Then came the privacy invasions. She once read through his text messages while he was showering. When confronted, she sobbed, "I only did it because I'm scared to lose you. You make me feel safe, and I didn't want any surprises." Do you see the pattern? She violates the line, then makes her fragility your burden. Her tears erase her trespass. What Mark didn't understand at first is this. When a woman with poor emotional regulation feels threatened by your boundaries, your calm, or your refusal to submit, she flips the narrative. You become the cold one, the aggressor, the unfeeling man who doesn't understand her trauma. Here's the trap. If you've got a good heart, if you were raised to protect and provide, you'll try to fix it. You'll explain more. Apologize for how she felt, even when you did nothing wrong. You'll start playing defense in a game you didn't ask to be in. Let's revisit Stoicism because it has something to say here. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." She can weaponize her emotion, but your power lies in not being pulled into the storm. You don't have to fight every lie. You don't have to prove your good intent. You just have to hold the line. Here's how Mark finally saw it. Every time he voiced a concern, she'd make herself the victim. He brought up how she cursed at him during a disagreement. She cried about her father never listening to her. He asked her to stop showing up at his work unannounced. She accused him of losing interest. It clicked one day when she said, "You never let me feel safe." Instead of reacting, he simply asked, "Do you feel safe when you cross every line and expect me to stay silent?" That was the beginning of the end. Some women don't want safety. They want chaos with a seatbelt. They want to explode and be forgiven. They want freedom from consequences, but full access to your emotional credit line. The truth: you're not obligated to carry someone else's broken boundaries. You're not cold for walking away from manipulation masked as emotion. You're not cruel for leaving when your respect is continually tested. You're not the villain for saying, "That's enough." If any part of this resonates, comment, "I protect my peace," because the moment you stop giving her passes for her patterns, you stop enabling the very pain you're trying to avoid. Next, we'll expose the tactics she uses to keep you hooked even after you try to leave. 8. She doesn't want love, she wants control. Not every woman in your life is looking for love. Some are looking for leverage, not to connect, but to control. And the dangerous part, she'll call it love while doing it. Let me introduce you to James, 52, a retired firefighter from Colorado Springs, and Dana, a charming yoga instructor, twice divorced. At first, it felt like a dream. Constant compliments, deep talks, physical chemistry off the charts. She told him, "You make me feel safe in a way no one else ever has." But it didn't take long before those words came with invisible strings. She started saying things like, "If you really cared, you wouldn't need a guy's weekend. Why do you even follow women on social media? It's just weird that you still talk to your sister so much. See what's happening?" She wasn't asking for love. She was setting traps, emotional landmines to test obedience. The more James tried to reassure her, the more she tightened the leash. He cut back on seeing friends. He deleted old contacts. He even started second-guessing his own instincts because every time he pushed back, she'd say, "Wow, so now I'm the problem." That's not love. That's conditioning. Let's pause and bring in a bit of Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Real love lives in freedom, not control." A woman who truly wants love welcomes your strength, your freedom, and your individuality. But a woman who's ruled by fear doesn't seek partnership, she seeks possession. And here's the twist, she often doesn't even realize she's doing it. She thinks her fear of abandonment is love. She thinks anxiety is affection, but the outcome is the same. You're no longer a man, you're a prisoner with a smile. When James finally saw this for what it was after a heated moment. He told Dana he was going to visit his daughter from a previous marriage. Hours later, she texted, "It's clear I'm not a priority in your life." And that's when it hit him. Love invites, control manipulates, love celebrates truth, control punishes honesty, love says, "Be yourself, I choose you anyway." Control says, "Be who I need or I'll make you pay emotionally." James took a week off for himself. He reflected, he reconnected with friends. When he returned, Dana bombarded him with accusations, tears, and guilt, but he didn't fold. He told her calmly, "You confuse possession with connection. I'm not here to be managed." That's when everything changed, not because she understood, but because he did. Men, if you've ever felt like the cost of a relationship is yourself, ask this: am I free to be me, or am I being trained? Here's what I want you to comment if this hit you hard. I choose love, not control. Because love isn't about who holds the leash. It's about who walks beside you. And in the next part, you'll see how some women weaponize your compassion to keep you forever chasing. Number 9, your son becomes her emotional weapon. Your son becomes her emotional weapon. Let's talk about something most men never see coming, not until it's already too late. When a woman doesn't just manipulate you, she manipulates your son. And not just to hurt you, but to keep you bound, guilty, and controlled. Meet Daniel, 48, a small business owner in Austin, Texas. He married Michelle, now 46, back when they were both in their early 30s. They had a son, Eli, now 14. At first, everything looked fine from the outside. But inside the home, Michelle didn't want a partnership. She wanted power. Whenever Daniel brought up boundaries, Michelle didn't argue with him. She went around him straight to Eli. If Daniel said no to a late-night request, she'd whisper to their son, "See, your dad never lets us have fun." If he disciplined Eli for disrespect, she'd comfort the boy in private. "He just doesn't understand you like I do." And the result? Daniel slowly lost the one thing he valued most, his relationship with his son. This is what emotional weaponization looks like. It's subtle, slow, but brutal, and it works because it targets a man's deepest love, his role as a father. Let's ground this in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus warned, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things." You think you're losing your son, but what you're losing is the illusion of peace with a woman who's training your child to see you as the enemy. This isn't co-parenting. This is psychological sabotage. She's not just attacking your authority. She's rewiring your son's worldview, teaching him that masculinity is dangerous, that fatherhood is failure, and that mom's emotions are the ultimate truth. Daniel spent years trying to stay calm for the family. But the more he backed down, the more she moved the goalpost, until Eli didn't ask his dad for advice anymore. He asked Michelle for permission to disrespect him. Men, if your child becomes the battlefield, that's not love. That's war with a smile. And here's the most painful truth. A woman like this doesn't need custody papers to turn your child against you. She just needs consistent emotional distortion. She tells your son, "Daddy only cares about work." She paints you as cold even when you're calm. She becomes the hero in his eyes, while you become the obstacle. It's manipulation, not mothering. Here's what Daniel finally did. He stopped defending himself to Michelle. Instead, he started living as an example. He showed up steady, consistent, and present. He sat with Eli one-on-one. No lectures, just real talk, real presence, real leadership. And slowly, Eli began to see, not through his mum's words, but through Daniel's actions. Because a real man doesn't fight for control. He fights for truth. If this hit you in the gut, drop a comment that says, "I protect what's mine." Because if you don't lead your home with clarity, someone else will lead it for you. And next, you'll see how even your integrity can be used against you. Number 10, walk early or you'll crawl forever. There's a moment in every toxic relationship when a man knows. Maybe it's a glance that lingers too long. Maybe it's the way she twists your words in front of your own son. Or maybe it's that dull ache in your chest when you realize this isn't love, it's survival. The hardest part? You think walking away will destroy you, but staying is what's killing you slowly. This is what happened to Marcus, 53, a contractor from Tampa. He met Lena, now 49, during a vulnerable time. His business had just taken a hit. His confidence was low. She was magnetic, funny, flirty, unpredictable. It felt like life again. But over time, Lena's unpredictability wasn't charming. It was calculated. Every compliment came with a blade. Every argument ended with, "You're too sensitive." Every boundary Marcus tried to set was treated as betrayal. He stayed because of hope. He stayed because of guilt. He stayed because walking away felt like failure. But what he didn't realize was, the longer you stay in dysfunction, the more your self-worth adjusts to match it. Seneca once wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." And Marcus suffered for years. He crawled through every excuse, every emotional breadcrumb she tossed his way, until one day his adult daughter pulled him aside and said, "Dad, you're not the man who raised me anymore." That broke him, not because she was wrong, but because she was finally right. The truth is this: the moment you sense a pattern of emotional erosion, a dynamic where your worth is only acknowledged when you're apologizing, sacrificing, or surrendering, that's your signal. Walk. Don't wait for the next betrayal. Don't wait for her to change. She won't. She doesn't want to. Not because she's incapable, but because the current setup works for her. She gets your loyalty, your silence, your service, without giving you peace, respect, or intimacy. And if you stay long enough, you won't just be walking on eggshells. You'll be crawling for affection, crawling for her approval, crawling for the version of her that only existed during the honeymoon phase. But here's the good news. The earlier you walk, the stronger you walk. Not because you're running away from her, but because you're walking back to yourself. You're reclaiming your spine, your standards, and your sanity. And the moment you do that, you stop bleeding slowly for a woman who was never going to stop cutting. Additional point 1, guard your energy, not just your time. Men, it's not just about how much time you spend with her, it's about the energy you give. Every conversation, every compromise, every argument drains a part of you. Stoics teach us that emotional energy is finite. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in toxic dynamics, every ounce of energy you give can be weaponized against you. Protect your mental space, and you'll preserve clarity, strength, and freedom. Additional point 2. Emotional consistency is the ultimate deterrent. A woman who thrives on chaos tests your limits constantly. The Stoic answer isn't anger or withdrawal, it's calm, unwavering consistency. Your emotions are your signal. If she sees nothing to manipulate, her control falters. Lead with quiet strength. Stand steady. Respond thoughtfully, not impulsively. Over time, consistency disarms toxicity more than confrontation ever could. That's the final truth. You either walk like a man or crawl like a memory of one. If this video sparked something in you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That way, you never miss the mindset shifts that can quietly change everything inside. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.